Hey everyone, come and join me today as I unbox and start out with my first couple pages of my new Archer and Olive sketchbook. So this is from their new essential lines that they dropped last month. It is so pretty. Just, I can't get over the holographic stuff, like the holographic pages, like bookbinding right there, and the little extra pieces that Arch and Olive do in their work. I just love their stuff. So I have been using their bullet journals for over a year now. A while. It's been a while. And I just love their bullet journals. And when I saw that they were releasing these new ones that had either watercolor paper or 160-gram paper that was blank, thought, wow, maybe I should try it as a sketchbook. So normally I use Talon's Art Creation sketchbook by Royal Talons, and it is 80 sheets and it's 140 grams. I can get them at Blick for about $12 when I do the A5. However, this one I think was, so it's 160 grams, which is 20 more grams, so it's a little bit thicker. It is 160 grams bright white, which is different from the Talons, and I can't decide if I like that or don't like that yet. But this bright white, it's got the thicker grams, and it's got 164 pages, which is double what the Royal Talons is, with the little extra details of that nice back envelope, and I just love the little like charm that's on one of the hanging ribbons, and the decoration of the cover. I think that even at, I think it was $35 that I spent on this, I think it's going to be worth it because I'm going to get double my mileage in this sketchbook than I would in the Talons. But I'm also I just love the kind of way that Archer and Olive takes pride and care in their work. Now, will I completely transition into only Archer and Olive sketchbooks? I don't know. Time will tell. Time will tell, especially because I've had the Illo sketchbook a couple times, and I have yet to fill an entire Illo sketchbook because I get sick of it. And I don't know if it's because of the 8x8 square and I just like A5 better, or if it's the bright white of the paper. I don't know, but their paper is a lot different than Archer and Olive's paper. And I know I love Archer and Olive's bullet journal paper. I love that it doesn't bleed when I'm using my fountain pens. And I did use my fountain pens on this. I think, if I remember correctly, this should be the same paper as my dot grid journals, but I'm not quite sure. However, I do know that it's a different paper than the Royal Talons paper. I can't tell what it is about the papers, but paper is different. Like Royal Talons is different from Moleskine. Moleskine is different from Archer and Olive, but I feel like this Archer and Olive paper is closer in texture to Moleskine, but it doesn't, it's weird. It doesn't take my colored pencils as well as some of the other papers that I've used. Talons takes my colored pencils much better, and I love my Look Term 1917 sketchbooks. That has a little bit more tooth. This is very, very fine. However, I do also want to say that Tombows, it was the first thing that I tested in this, because I use Tombows all the time in my bullet journal, and I have become like just obsessed with bringing them along when I am going somewhere to sketch, because they're so easy to throw in a purse. So I do sketch as well with my Tombows quite often anymore. They were the first thing I wanted to try, and they work so weird. I want to say that it's weird in a good way because they don't dry completely right away. They can blend really nice, and you can kind of see that I get that blending in the line. I use 2 different colors and they get a nice blend, whereas on the talons it dries so fast you don't get the blend. And it still dries fairly quickly, just not as quickly as on the talons. So it's one of those things where I'm like, am I going to convert? I don't know. It is so early. I have now had this for about a week, so I'm voice recording over this footage that I did from a week ago when I first opened up this sketchbook and I finished my other sketchbook. And I'm still trying to figure out and navigate what I like the most in it. I love how my fountain pens go, just fast and smooth on it. But I'm still trying to figure out if I like everything else. And that's kind of where it's fun because I feel this like enjoyment in a different way because I'm taking all of my supplies and I am experimenting like crazy on what I'm using. So my first page in this was the test. And I only did a few things and I left space for the different like mediums that I'll test later. But I did my mains. I did my sketch, my sketch. I did my colored pencils. I did my Tombos. I did watercolor, and I did pencil and fountain pen because those are my things that I use the most. So then on this page, I decided I wanted to do a little bit of a Tombow fountain pen illustration to just welcome people to my sketchbook. And I pulled out this bird book I have from Birds of the Dakotas. And for those who don't know, I'm in the Dakotas. I'm in South Dakota. It's you know, Midwest, and hardly anybody lives here, I swear, except that we keep growing. I don't know. This is just a random tangent. But I live in South Dakota, so I've been doing the birding and building birdhouses and putting them in our backyard, trying to figure out birds. So I got this book last year, and it's a really nice reference to look at for drawing birds. And a little plug, I did do a video last week on how I draw birds. So if you want to check that out, you can go ahead and check that out in my profile. I still don't know how to link videos, so I'm sure there is a tutorial, but I don't know right now. So if I figure it out, you'll see the little button up in the corner. Otherwise, I'll have it in my description down below because I'm still learning YouTube after being here for a year. Isn't that how this goes? As I'm throwing things around in my house, I wish you could see me right now. Anyway, so what I am using right now, and this has been one of my favorite things lately, I have my TWSBI Go. So this one is like the lowest price TWSBI you can have, and I actually got it to replace a different nib from a different pen, but I wanted to try it out. So I have a TWSBI Go, and I think it was like $18, I want to say. I cannot remember the price. I really need to remember prices of things. But I have it filled with Urban Sienna De Atramis document ink. So I was using Rohrer and Klingner's sketch ink for the longest time, but it was clogging my fountain pens. And I was getting really frustrated because if you don't use them every single day, then they would clog up. And then even in the middle of the day, they would clog up. But the inks worked really well because I could use them with watercolor or my Tombos. And I am an ink before I color kind of person. Sometimes I'm not, but I have found, especially in my sketchbook, if I don't ink before, the tooth kind of breaks down in the paper and then the fountain pen ink bleeds. So I like to do, especially my fountain pen ink, I like to do it first. So this is an extra fine nib, and I'm using it to do all my lines in this document ink that I found. And this document ink, if you let it sit and dry for even a minute, it becomes pretty, not completely, but it comes pretty waterproof. So I've been using it in my pens lately because it's not clogging my pens. It's a little different. I don't know what the different properties are. I am still a newbie in the fountain pen world too, but I love it. It's not clogging my pens and I can put it in anything. It comes in so many colors. I was on Van Ness's site and ordered a whole bunch of samples of different document colors. I love the red gray. I love the black. I love this urban sienna, and I just ordered another one in a dark sepia because I love black, but black is so harsh that sometimes I want this more like brownish, but then this one is a little bit too light. So I'm kind of want to have, since I have so many fountain pens, because I went a little fountain pen crazy there for a little bit, I kind of want to have a few pens in a few different colors for my sketches. I'm really enjoying it, and I really hope to share what I'm learning because I'm finding inking and doing fountain pen art is so much fun. So I hope to share that with you. But alas, who knows when I will get to videos. I always had these big dreams and big goals. I'm sure many of you do as well. I have these big dreams and big goals, and then not enough time to do it all, or not enough motivation because I have, you know, neurodivergent issues that make it hard for me to focus during my time, that it's not always easy. But here I am. I'm learning, I'm growing, I am trying new things every single day. And so, yeah, I don't know. The thing that I think is really great about my sketchbook is in the past year, I have kind of shifted how I use my sketchbook, and I use my sketchbook in a much more playful, experimental, like, this doesn't have to be for anyone. This doesn't have to be for anything. Sure, I have a few goals. Like, I want to do like watercolor people, and I want to do and improve on different things. Like, I'm trying to like figure out how to do a comic, and I'm trying to figure out exactly how I like things to look. And I'm growing so much in that. However, I like to experiment, and I like to experiment with styles, and I have just come to just kind of be an eater of styles, if that makes sense. So if I see something that somebody has done that I like, I'm like, ooh, I want to try that. And I always like to write in my sketchbook who I am getting the inspiration from. Like, so for one, that I know that it's not mine, and for two, that I can like reference back at their art because for some reason it spoke to me at that moment. And that's kind of what's really fun about art, is that you can pull from here and you can pull from there, and you can eventually come up with your own style. And I'm sure that someday I can talk more about it, but I am constantly figuring out what my style is, and my style changes every day, as I think a lot of artists' styles do change because we are constantly evolving as humans. So, anywho, that is just my random tangent on what is happening here in this sketchbook, because I went with birds. Birds have been kind of this, I don't know, the symbol of just change and growth for me. And I just have been enjoying them so much. And they make me happy. Anytime I see them outside, I'm like, ooh, what type of bird is that? Oh, they're so great. They're so pretty. And I don't know, it's just one of those things that I never really appreciated as a child, and now that I'm drawing them, I'm appreciating them so much more. And I think it's the same thing with like nature and going outside and getting outside. I always hated being an outside person, and now I'm like, how can I make this an outside adventure? I live in a place that is very cold a lot of the time. So right now I haven't been getting outside because I am a big giant baby when it comes to the winter. I will admit it. If my husband would say, yes, tomorrow we can move to a warmer climate, maybe I would go, maybe I wouldn't, because I'm also scared of bugs and creepy crawlies and that kind of stuff. So maybe I wouldn't, but I always say that I would, because the winter months get long and cold, and I hate putting on all the gear, and I hate being out in the cold. I like to be under a blanket in the house with my mug of warm something, mostly coffee. But I have not been able to get out and explore, and I did that so much last summer, and I'm so excited for the summer to come. And I only have 3 more months. So I have 3 more months of getting through this: March, April, May, and those are going to be busy because I'm going to be working full-time again coming in March. I have another long-term teaching job coming up where I'm taking over for another teacher who is going to be on maternity leave. And so I'm getting back in the classroom. I've had a couple months break, which has been really nice. I sometimes think maybe I'm just going to stick with being a long-term substitute rather than having my own classroom. I have no idea. I'm just, thinking out loud. But I am enjoying this time of really just learning what I want to draw and how I like to draw. And that is something that I think, I don't know, I've pigeonholed myself for so long because I wanted to be an animator. I wanted to do the things that I didn't realize I wasn't as passionate about as I was. I love animated films, and I think that character designers and animators are so talented. But when I put myself out of that box, all of a sudden, like, my world exploded on me. Like, not exploded in a weird way, but like in a, oh my goodness, how did I never realize there is so much more out there that I can play with and explore? And there's nothing wrong with it. Like, it's so funny because I used to hate the styles that I just adore now. Like, me drawing these birds, there's no way I would have ever drawn these birds back when I was younger. I was like anime or animation, Disney animation specifically, or bust. And I think it really hindered me. And so now I'm like pulling all different places and all different inspirations. And I think that's just, I cannot recommend it enough to draw different things and creatures. And I don't know, maybe I'm just crazy and rambling and it doesn't make any sense, but it's one of those liberating things that make me really happy. And so, yeah, I just watching back the film as I'm voicing over this, it makes me so happy to see these little burbs. I said burbs, yes. I say that in like life, but I should just keep it to myself. But I have been so in love with birds, and these ones were, I forget what they were called, female eastern bluebird. Okay, so the female is the one that is already completely done, and so she was the female, and then the male's up on the top, and without the orangey or without the pinky greeny face. I don't know what I did there, but I had a lot of fun. I could see that the blue Tombow got a little bit too wet in the face before I put down that yellow color that I did, and it really kind of tore some of the paper. So I'm gonna have to be cognizant of that. But I have used my Tombows again in the sketchbook later, and it didn't seem to have that same problem. So I don't know if I was just pushing too hard or if that marker was just overly wet or what. It was one of my son's, so it was the first time I used the 515, but it's such a pretty blue that I think I'm gonna have to get my own, because he's 6, so his little like hands just push so hard and ruins the brush tips. And yes, I get my son Tombows, but I get them for super cheap on sale at Michael's, and he has Christmas and birthday money, and that's what we like to do. We go to Michael's and we get Tombows. I don't buy them anywhere else but Michael's because I can get such good deals with all the coupons and things. I highly recommend. Anywho, yeah, we're getting towards the end of this little spread, and this is my final thoughts so far is I do enjoy the Archer and Olive sketchbook or blank journal as a sketchbook. It is definitely worth the price. Am I going to stick with it? I'm not 100% positive. I am going to fill this sketchbook, and so I will come back to you the longer I have it, but I'm really enjoying it so far. I just love looking at the cover. I love just the feel of it. It just feels fancy. It feels like I pulled a big glass of wine from the top shelf. And I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of how I feel. It's just luxurious in a way that makes me want to play. And I also have so many pieces of paper in here that I'm not afraid to mess it up because there are so many pages in this. Like, it's going to take me, I don't know, it's going to take me at least 2 to 3 months to fill this when my Talons takes me at least a month and a half. So thank you so much for checking this out. I hope you enjoyed this, and let me know in the comments if you're going to try out an Archer and Olive sketchbook. Bye.